key thing about being an entrepreneur is having that, urge to seek out challenges and to fix things and to find problems to fix. If you've got that mindset, then starting your own business and being an entrepreneur is a great way to always have something new and interesting every day, because, it might be one day I'm helping a developer who's got stuck, or it might be, we're doing a podcast one day, we're speaking to, some new friends in different countries, all this sort of thing. It's always different. There's the business side of things you can get involved in. And also when you're making your recruitment decisions, you can take on people either in areas that effectively you don't want to do. You can take people on to cover the gaps where you've got gaps in your skills, or you can learn things and do it yourself. You've got that flexibility in your job role as an entrepreneur. So starting your own business is a really great way to experience lots of things.
Absolutely. And, all along the way, sometimes someone might come to you with something that you may or may not, or sort of know how to do. And, you can either turn them away or you can help them out in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes it's just like a step to the left. So over the years, new development environments have been coming out, right? So like when I first started, making an iPhone app was difficult. It had this programming language called Objective-C, which is like this old, ugly, very ugly programming language. And then Swift came out, which was easy, right? It was a lot easier and more amazing, right? Yeah. So what I did is when Swift came out, I took maybe a week and I just learned everything there is to know about Swift. And at that point, there were very few, if any, Swift developers. And then I produced an 80-hour course, did a bunch of webinars, and then I made a ton of profit from that as well. So sometimes, some people would say, oh, I don't know how to code in Swift. And then it just kind of walk away. But, sometimes you have to say, look, there's this huge problem. I'm going to go research it and then help you out. And that is very common in entrepreneurship. If someone comes to you with a job that's, related to what you do, you can take a week to research it and then go help them out.
Yeah, I think that was something I've read. Richard Branson, Virgin, he said, always say yes, because you can always figure out how to do it or find someone who can, rather than miss out on the opportunity. Yeah. So I think, that's definitely one to take away. So you've started your business and you've had success, initial success, and you've moved to a new town, and you've now decided now's the time to take on staff and take your business to the next level. So how did that process go? How was your sort of first hires, and what's sort of the next step in the story?
Okay, so it took me 9 months to figure out what to do. So if you're going to do, some people have the fortune of, we're expanding so fast, I need to get an office and employees by the end of the week, right? But that's few and far between, right? Usually your business is it's slowly building up, right? You have time. So I was thinking about and just kind of prototyping different ways to build it. And it took me 9 months to figure that out. And once I got there, I managed to hire a bunch of people, and there was quite a bit of turnover in the first few months, right? But I found the people that I want, and all the people that work for me are really, really good. They're great to work with. They're good at what they do, and then they produce things, right? So, but at the same time, it was also really scary because before I got to keep everything, right? And at this point in time, since I've been doing everything by myself, I was, admittedly a little bit fatigued from doing everything. So I needed to kind of just focus on other things. And this is what a lot of entrepreneurs do, right? They outsource some of the tasks to other people, and then, they get to focus on something, right? And, my hours haven't really gone down, but I'm still focusing on new things every day. Yeah. But it was challenging and it was scary. And, my wife was pregnant at the time, right? And I always prepare for the worst. And I said, what happens if one of my income partners goes away? And believe it or not, one of my income streams went down by 80%. My biggest income stream went down by 80%. And just as I was hiring people, it was crazy. I didn't pay myself for 3 months. And this is coming a year ago, I was paying myself, loads of cash because it was really successful. And 3 months, no cash, wife pregnant, employees. All right. It was really scary, but I managed to get through it and things are good.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Entrepreneurship does have its ups and downs. And it's having that resilience to keep going, even when you're not getting paid for 3 months.
Yeah.
You sort of, you're last to your employees, and you've got to keep the business going. And it's your strength of mind to see the end goal, that we can do this, we can grow the company. And if we get past these 3 months, I'll find a new client and we can grow. It's just, you've got to have that mindset, haven't you?
Yeah. And this goes back to when we were talking about earlier about saving. Like, as if you're the business owner, there'll be times where you might not get paid for a couple months. It's just the way it is. But then you'll land that new client, and then you get to take it back. And you always have your equity in your business, right? The more things you build, the more equity you have. So there's always a bigger goal.
Yeah. And I think the key thing when we go back to bootstrapping as well is that you haven't got investors breathing down your neck if you bootstrap, so you can take maybe some of these bigger risks, but also you haven't got someone else taking money who's not actually contributing. Everyone you're paying is contributing to the business. It's not someone who gave you some money 5 years ago and you've put in all this effort and now they're taking their percentage out.
Right.
It's all yours. You own 100% of the business.
Exactly.
Everything it makes. That's a really good incentive, isn't it? If you got 100% of the business back without actually having to get any investment, that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to keep on your equity as long as you humanly can. But sometimes every entrepreneur has to ask themselves, should I give up equity to expand? And, that is on a case-by-case basis and a personal thing too. And oftentimes if you're at that stage, there's really two options you can go down. It's like you either sell the business or you get the investor, right? And then it generally those are the two best options, because if you sell your business, you can do something else. And if you get the investor, then it's off to the races, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I suppose what happens with some businesses is they get to a point where actually the business is outgrown maybe the entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs aren't ready to manage, like say a global business. Say it goes global and you need offices globally, and you're not used to that level of management. You've never, you're used to a small business. You might be able to scale a certain amount, but there might be a time when selling your business and start something new is the best option for you. Or you might want to try something new and push the boundaries and get that investment. So it really depends on your personality, your personal sort of position as well, I suppose, and whether you want to be a massive corporation or you want to, leave that to someone else and move on.
Absolutely. And if you're ever fortunate enough to have multiple offices in multiple cities, which is pretty hard to do, but if you ever in that situation, then you'll definitely be able to find something. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they go work as consultants for big firms too. Yeah. And those can be very cushy jobs if you're into that, right? If you're tired of the entrepreneurship life, or you want to start your own consulting company, there's lots of options for you. Once you get to a certain point, but yeah, you're definitely right. Like it's all about personality. Like if you're cool with a 5-person team and you don't want to do any more than that, then, and someone wants to take your business globally, then maybe it's time to sell. But if you want to have 20 offices in 20 major cities, then that's good for you too.
Yeah. And sometimes it's possible to stay small. If that suits you and the business model is sustainable, then you can stay small. We talk about growth as entrepreneurs, all the time. We talk about, people really want to grow your business, but when you've got nothing, you're desperate to grow. But at some point, people might reach a point where they think they're comfortable. And actually, if the business model is sustainable at that size, then if that's what you want, then you've got to know what you want from your business, haven't you? You're quite happy with that level of income. You don't want to grow any further. You don't want to sell because you like what you've got. Some people want to grow businesses like that. That is what they want. And I suppose the key question there is the business sustainable at that level, or is it only ever going to be profitable if you keep growing? So I suppose that's again, a case by case basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you don't, just because you start a business doesn't mean it has to be a multinational conglomerate, right? Like you can be totally happy making $2 million a year with a few employees, right? I mean, like that's not a bad life at all.
Misconception a lot of people have, isn't it, really, when they start a business? They think, oh, well, by the end of this, I've got to have, a global business that's got offices around the world, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like that.
No, I mean, like if you
That's
make,
stress.
if you make money and you're happy, then that's really the number one thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So once you'd got your employees, your first employees, was there anything else that you sort of around the growth of your business, where you've got any advice for people who are kind of at that stage where they maybe taken on their first or second employee, or they're going down that road? What sort of things, if you were going back now to yourself, you've just taken on your first employee, what sort of things would you like to know now that you didn't know maybe then about scaling and growing your business?
So I actually have scaled things fairly well in terms of like the employee. It's like the business itself, the particular market that I'm in isn't as scalable as I'd like it to be. Just because everyone's getting like $10 million of funding, $50 million of funding, right? So it's like like Mammoth does compete with these companies with zero funding. So we're pretty happy about that. But if I were to go back, you want to make sure that you have the people that want to work for you. Okay. There are some people that didn't want to work, and then maybe I kept them on maybe a bit too long, and it's not good for you or the employee, right? If they're coming to work and they're doing a good job, but they don't want to fit your business, because some people, they need to be at a big company, right? They not fit the small business, and they're just doing it for, experience or something. Then, you can help those people out. Be like, look, you can go apply to this other job, and you can say, I'll help you out there. I'll give you a reference because, this is not the fit for you. That's something you can do. But you want to make sure that you stay lean. And again, with anything in your business, you want to make sure that you want to keep your expenses really tight.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing that we had, and certainly in the early years, there's lots of similarities with the early years about churn of employees, that finding the right fit is far more important than finding the match for the skill set you probably put in the advert. So someone might look great on paper, that they've got these qualifications, or they say they can do these certain things, but they get here and they don't want to be here. And they don't really fit with what your business is trying to achieve.
Yeah, they don't necessarily see the same vision.
Yeah,
I think.
They see the clock in at 9, clock out at 5, and that's all they're interested in. Whereas you get other members of staff, like put Craig on the spot. You get Craig, who, he's emailing me at the weekend, not that it's expected, but that he's interested in what we've been doing that week, and he'd come up with an idea for what we could do next week, because he's actually, invested in the business himself. And it's finding employees that, share what you want to get out of the business, and they actually think the same way as well. That's what you want to look for in an employee, isn't it? Not C++ tick, graphic design tick or whatever else. It's not a checklist. It's it's the fit.
Absolutely. You're totally right on that.
Yeah. I think as well, one of the things I'd probably like to ask you about is we're obviously a company that does a lot about having systems. So we're a productivity company in the way that we develop software that puts systems into business. So I'm just wondering, when you got employees, did you find that you had to, before then you knew everything that had to be done? Did you put systems in place, whether they were like, a software system, or whether it was just a paper-driven system, if you like, of step-by-step processes that you'd expect your employees to follow, so that the business could operate when you weren't there?
Yeah. So again, like I said, I had the fortune of spending about 9 months to figure this all out. And, there's a few things, like I found out there was a couple employees that could not do this job. Right. And so like I had, obviously, they weren't the right fit, but, all the people that did work for me, I would go through a process, and with my particular business, it's extremely efficient. And like we produce courses that are like way more efficient than some of the other big players, right? And that's how we can get out some of the courses that we do. So it's all it's all basically mental, right? So oftentimes people have a mental gap, and in particular software like computer engineering, computer science, there's like a specific kind of block framework. And I've taken things outside of that, like being a guitar teacher and whatnot. Like I had all that creativity in there, and and just by adding in that little bit of creativity, it's blossomed my business into a completely different a completely different beast. So the systems I usually have in place is that 10-10-10 rule, right? You always have to do better, right? And the more projects you do, the better you get, right? And if you're continually making the same mistakes, that's your own fault, right? But every project you do, you should find a way to do it better. And eventually, and I always like to say, like, there's like the only barriers you have are physical barriers, right? Like there's only so many mouse clicks that you can do. Like there's only so many, you can only move your mouse so fast, but everything else is all mental. Like for example, a lot of ancient civilizations didn't have a concept of zero. Like, if like, I think the ancient Egyptians didn't. So, if you said how many cows are over there and there's 0 cows, they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But, hop over, to a different civilization that has a concept. They'll say there's 0 cows over there. Like, and that's like to us, we take 0 for granted, but some people, they just can't get it. And if you really want to be productive, you have to break through those mental barriers. You have to kind of see things in a different light. You have to understand the concept of 0 where other people don't.
Yeah. Have you got to the point now where you've actually managed to take a vacation as an entrepreneur?
Yes, I do. I mostly, and that's actually a really good point. You as a business owner, you want to be able to walk away from the business completely. Yeah. I'm not completely at that stage yet, but like, I can take a vacation here and there, not like a 4-month-long vacation, but maybe a week-long vacation or something like that, right? But I can get it done, and you want to be able to do that, and as employees, it tells your employees that you trust them, right? You trust them to get things done, and you don't always have to overlook. And since we're talking about management too, I like to be very hands off, right? I like to like if you ever worked at a job and there's been a micromanaging boss, that's the worst, right? So I like to make sure that I have very few meetings at my company actually, and it's both basically all personal driven.
Okay. Just out of interest, is your company, do you have offices or are you remote workers? Because that's obviously an option that people can take to keep costs down.
Yeah. So I've been working at home in some capacity since I was 17 in some case or form. So I don't want to do that again. That's just a personal choice. So I do have offices, but I do have a couple remote workers. And then anything that we also need to do, we also can do remote work as well. But I find it's the duality of getting to a place, talking with people in real time, and getting people to work remotely is a real key for success. And a lot of big companies do that as well.
I think flexibility, isn't it? People have different needs, different wants. And if you can offer flexibility in your business for your staff so that they can find their most productive way of working, that's only going to benefit you.
Absolutely. And you have to listen. And, it's also kind of like an age thing too. Younger people tend to like different, flexible, more hours of work. And, are you really going to say no to the next industry stars? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you have to accommodate, right? So.
Exactly. Great. I think that's been a really enlightening conversation about how to take a business from people asking you questions about something you're doing that's totally unrelated to actually producing a whole new business with members of staff, a growing business with offices, and how that journey from a startup and bootstrapping to a fully fledged business that's operating today is really, really interesting story. So thank you for sharing your business journey with us on our podcast.
No problem. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah. So I think if anyone's got any comments they want to leave about what businesses they're thinking of starting potentially, or how they're going in their business journey, or there's any questions, then we'll jump on and answer any of those questions if you leave them in the comment section below.
And don't forget to check out our website, swiftcase.co.uk, for more information, and head over to @SwiftCaseUK on social media for what we're doing.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay, and John, have you got a website or anything that people can get in touch with you?
Sure. You can go to mammothinteractive.com for all of our courses that we produce. You can also check us out on Twitter. It's @Mammoth Company. And you can check out my new YouTube channel, which is Bura Tech, where I talk about all technology related topics.
Great.
Sounds like my sort of thing.
Excellent. Thanks very much, John. It's been great to speak to you. And thanks everyone for listening and watching the SwiftCase Productivity Podcast. And we'll see you again next time.